say and spell your name for us.
All right, so my name is Thomas Winesett, spelled Thomas and I'm a meteorologist with the National Weather Service.
Just explain what you're doing up here in Catawba County.
Yes, we had a number of severe thunderstorms yesterday afternoon and evening that moved across parts of the area. We did end up issuing a tornado warning that included Catawba County, so we came up here today to take a look at the damage. And we surveyed the area. We went where the damage reports were received from our emergency management partners, and we found some swaths of tree damage, mainly along Rifle Range Road, extending southeast towards the Claremont and Conover areas. And we determined that that wind was a result of 75 mile per hour straight line winds that did that damage. We didn't see any evidence of a tornado. What we're typically looking for to find tornado damage is convergence in the damage pattern, and that's where trees will fall in towards each other. And in this case, we saw trees kind of falling away from each other. That was more indicative of straight line winds. So we didn't have a tornado with this storm confirmed, but it was a pretty significant storm. 75 mile per hour winds are considered to be significant, and there was also hail with this storm as well. So it was a pretty impactful storm for Catawba County, just no evidence of a tornado.
Now, is this one of those storms you've been tracking, or did it just kind of pop up yesterday, or did you know it was going to be in this general area somewhere?
Yeah, so we were expecting severe weather yesterday. We had been advertising a severe weather threat for several days in advance, so we had an idea this was coming. We also saw the storms developing as far north as parts of southern West Virginia and western Virginia, and then they moved down into western North Carolina during the afternoon and then intensified as they entered the Catawba Valley.
Now, I'm not sure if you might know, are these type of winds, typical for this area for this time of year, as far as storms go?
Yeah, so the setup that we had yesterday with the severe storms was a little atypical for late July. We had a lot of thunderstorm fuel to work with for the storms, that instability in the atmosphere. We also had a lot of dry air available higher up in the atmosphere, which allowed for damaging winds to be more prevalent. So this was a setup that we don't typically see in the summertime. It's not completely unusual. We have seen it from time to time, but it was a little more on the rare side.
And how often do you show up at these places where you say, oh, that was a tornado, and you get reports, oh, that was a tornado, and you get out there and you find what you found?
Yeah, that's not uncommon. We a lot of times when trees come down, especially when you have what we like to refer to as like scary looking clouds, like they might look kind of terrifying to someone who hasn't seen them before. We often get a lot of reports of tornadoes, and we'll come out and look at the damage to see whether it was actually tornadic or straight line wind. And we also compare that with our radar data as well. So we look at the radar data for the event. We can see based on radar what was going on and compare that with where the damage reports are, and that also gives us an indication as to whether it was straight line wind or tornado.
Now, do you guys think this is the last storm of this kind for the season, or do you anticipate something more, whether or not it's as severe as this was, or maybe a little bit milder?
Yeah, so we're still dealing with the typical kind of summer weather pattern. So the next few days are going to be dry. It will be a little less humid, which will be a nice relief. But then by this weekend, we start to get back into a stormier pattern. So until we get more into the fall, as we get through the later part of the summer, we still will be looking at some of those days where you have your daily chances for afternoon thunderstorms. And anytime we get those in the summer, we can't rule out a storm being severe with locally damaging winds. And sometimes you can get an intense microburst that can be just as strong as a weak tornado.
How has this season been so far, as far as tornadoes, storms?
So we did have a tornado a couple weeks ago that was down in the Lincoln County area that ended near the southwest corner of Catawba County. So we have seen a few more tornadoes this summer than what we typically do. But on average, I would say this summer is about what we've expected. We've had some periods of active weather, but also some periods of quiet weather as well.
What are some things you'd say to people? We spent some time a little bit ago, 7 minutes off the road. There was a home where they were kind of literally using one saw to chop down this one big tree that was down on their property. What do you say to people who also have, these big trees, whether or not they have impact remaining on their property, or like you said, it's not, the season's not really done yet. So what would you say to people?
Yeah, it's just you want to be prepared. Of course, any time of year we can get storms, whether it's during the summertime or even in the fall or winter. We can get thunderstorms here in the western Carolinas. So it's just a matter of being prepared. If you have a high-risk tree that could fall on your house, if you have a dead tree or dead limbs, it's just being proactive and making sure that those are taken care of before a storm brings them down onto your home.
Based on what you saw, weather patterns, were you surprised this wasn't a tornado?
Not entirely. Based on the radar data we had, there were some areas of rotation in the storm that prompted the warning. But based on where the damage lined up with the radar data, it was fairly convincing that this was straight line wind and not tornado damage. We also didn't see a focused continuous path of damage. It was kind of scattered. So there were a few pockets of damage, but it wasn't really connected together. So that was another indication that it was more straight line wind than actual tornado.
So anytime you have an event like this, even though you see on the radar that it probably isn't a tornado, you always have to come out and investigate.
Yeah, so anytime that we issue a warning, whether that's a severe thunderstorm warning, tornado warning, flash flood warning, we do verify those, and we keep track of our statistics as to how those warnings perform. So we make an effort to come out and look at damage anytime there's a tornado warning issue, because that's the only way we can verify a tornado warning is through an actual damage survey. And we also keep statistics on these tornadoes, so how strong they are, the path length and width, what time of year and day they happen, and this can help us better anticipate them in the future as well. So it goes into our forecasting to actually come out and verify what's happened with past storms.
And so you were saying that by all indications from yesterday, this was not a tornado.
Correct, yes. Everything that we saw today would indicate straight line winds and not tornado damage.
Okay. Is there anything else about this that you want people to know or anything that we didn't touch on?
I think that's about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
You want to tell them it's done? Do you want to tell them it's done? Do you have any specific locations you could tell us where it might have impacted?
So like Rifle Range Road or
Yeah, Rifle Range Road. If you drive up that, that's where the most damage was, and it was kind of like off to the side of the road too.
Okay.
So and it's not going to look like anything crazy. It's just like some trees down and branches, that sort of thing.
You got another crew in Buncombe County too? Today?
Yeah, Buncombe up towards Madison's another survey team.